Hey guys, it's Dr. Dragonite. Welcome to episode 6 of Runescape Rambles. Today we're going to talk about Leagues 2 Trailblazers a little more and some theory crafting on what the possible combat and PVM relics could be. So last league there was some relics that increased your attack speed, reduced your damage, restored your prayer over time. There's a couple others, and I want to kind of talk about what ones are likely to make a comeback and which ones are probably not gonna come back. So Xeric's Focus was the one that most people chose as a PVM, which was increasing the speed of all weapons by 1 tick. I think we're more than likely gonna see something like a reoccurring damage from Nightmare Zone kind of perk instead of this one, because the increasing damage on weapons is huge when you increase it by 1 tick. It's not just a little bit, it's a lot. So I think you can expect this to be replaced with something more like reoccurring damage from Nightmare Zone, where every time you hit, you'll hit half of whatever you hit again. We also had a huge hint at the tier 6 relics, and they said, hey, we've been testing this, and what if you didn't have to use melee on TOB? And if you know anything about TOB, it's like 95% melee. You can use like range and mage and stuff on Verzik, but most of it is melee, and melee is the main type of combat you use. So if that's the case and we want to go off that statement, then the most likely relic that I can see is you may have a choice on tier 6 between each of the 3 combat styles. And what you're probably going to end up choosing is one of those combat styles to be neutral damage. And what I mean about neutral damage is some monsters in RuneScape have an attack that you can't protect from. They just hit you no matter what for whatever they're going to hit you. Siren in the Song of the Elves hits you for a 98 no matter what you're praying. There's static attacks kind of thing, and some turn off prayers and things like that. So one thing is that you could have a neutral attack, and that could be on one of your attack styles, and that's kind of what I'm thinking that they're kind of hinting at for tier 6, because if you take a blowpipe and you give it neutral damage instead of range type, there's no defense against the opponent, there's nothing they can pray against, and I'm fairly confident you could do a TOB run with just a blowpipe if no damage could be protected against, and there was no defense stat. Like magic has magic offense, which makes magic harder to hit. And what happens when you no longer miss anymore because there's no way to stop that attack? I think that's a more likely. So tier 6 relics we could possibly have is choosing between each of the 3 combat styles, one of them becoming neutral. So your 3 relics are the Glory of Range, or the Glory of Mage, or the Glory of Melee, which would then make it so you do neutral damage. I think more than likely for tier 4 relics, we're probably going to see like either minimum hits or reoccurring damage type things. And I think for the tier 2 relics, we're probably going to look at something around like a stat boost that's permanent. So you might be looking at a permanent plus 10 stat boost for all combat skills, or maybe it's for a specific type. I think one thing that we might have to consider this time is that last time they made a lot of the PVM relics kind of mix in with the skilling relics, because they weren't really sure like what they exactly wanted to do, but they got a pretty good idea of it. And one thing they did this time is they separated all the combat relics out into their own like relic tiers. So you're not going to have to choose between a combat relic or a skilling relic, because there isn't the choice of a skilling relic when you get to the combat tier relics. And This is something kind of important to keep in mind. This is all theory crafting, keep in mind, so we don't know for sure, like, are these the actual relics, but you can definitely assume that the first relic for combat is probably going to be some kind of like boost. Whether it's always having super combats on, or like always having a super strength, always having a range pot, or who knows. The fourth one will probably be a little more powerful and deal with like either dealing damage or preventing it. This was something they did in the tier 5 last time, which I think is going to be bumped down to tier 4 for this league, and you're more than likely going to see the damage resistance and prayer restore relic. You're going to see probably reoccurring damage instead of increasing the attack speed by a tick of all weapons, and you might see something else that says like never run out of prayer or something like that. So, and then from there you're looking at the tier 6 relics, and those are the super powerful ones, and I think those are going to be the ones that make it so that you can do any boss in the game even if you don't have a certain attack style. And by that point, once you get to the tier 6 relics, hopefully everybody has like some main weapons that they can use and stuff, because you can probably get to a whip pretty easily, and if you choose melee to do neutral damage, it's pretty good, but it's nowhere near as good as choosing something that has a quick attack speed. Maybe you chose reoccurring damage already, and you chose your range to like always boost to 120 or something, or plus 20 levels or something like that as the first relic. And that's really what I could imagine the relics being like. And them actually, the first relic maybe isn't specific to a certain attack style. The second set of PVM relics are going to maybe be a little more specific, but not necessarily, and the third relics are going to make one combat style just so overpowered by giving it probably neutral damage. I'm really hooked on the neutral damage idea because I think that's the most logistical way, other than making like maybe your minimum hit with range is a 10 and you take a blowpipe in with bronze darts and you just constantly hit 10s, who knows. But neutral damage seems like the most logical way to kind of go about making a combat style like super overpowered, because as soon as you get like your dream weapon and your dream gear, if you can use like that same combat style for everything, that's pretty broken. And the mods all got a kind of smile on their face when they made the statement that imagine being able to TOB without melee, and that kind of hints that, like, you know, there's a possibility that you could ignore like types of defenses and stuff. Maybe it's a Varrock type of effect, but I don't think they would apply that kind of thing to like range and mage. So it could possibly be a minimum hit like 10 or something, or it could possibly be that you just hit neutral damage. This is just a little bit of theory crafting, and I hope to see if I'm right. I hope you guys enjoyed this shorter episode of Runescape Rambles with theory crafting about Raids 2 Trailblazers. If you did enjoy, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and I hope to see you guys in the next video.